Can you able to hear my voice on my screen? Is it visible? Hello? Okay, perfect. So, good evening. It's wonderful to see so many familiar faces and hopefully some new converts to the world of clinical research. Thank you for showing up here. It's an honor to speak about a topic close to my heart. The care and management of cancer patients in clinical trial is my biggest thing in my life. These patients are not just participants, they are warriors and partners in scientific discovery. And I always feel handling cancer patients in clinical trials is a bit like assembling furniture ordered through online. Looks good when it gets fit properly, but you often end up with extra pieces, right? In our case, it always end up with extra questions in clinical research. So, in today's session of mine, we will explore how clinical trials transform cancer care, the unique needs of participants, and the challenges we must navigate to ensure their well being and the integrity of the research. So, there will be three agenda under my session. The first one is of cancer and research. So let's begin by looking at the magnitude of what we are dealing with. And according to the World Health Organization, cancer is one of the leading cause of death globally, accounting for nearly 10 million deaths in 2020, or almost 1 in 6 deaths worldwide. In India, the burden is staggering. Over 1.3 million new cases were diagnosed in 2022 alone. And to understand why clinical trial matters in cancer patient, we should understand the cancer's incidence and prevalence. Let me start with cancer without touching its basic. We will be already familiar with what is cancer, right? Cancer, but according to me, cancer is like playing chess with a cunning opponent that knows all your moves in advance. This is why personalized and innovative therapies are vital. And here, the cunning opponent will be the cancer cells. And cancer is not just one disease, but a group of more than 100 different types, all characterized by the uncontrolled growth and spread of abnormal cells. Some of the most common types in India include breast, lung, cervical cancer, colorectal cancer, and oral cancers as well. And each type comes with its unique challenges, demanding tailored approaches in both treatment and research. And the incidence in India. In India, the incidence rate of cancer is rapidly rising due to factors such as aging, lifestyle changes, and environmental influences. Currently, the lifetime risk of developing cancer for an average Indian is 1 in 9, and the prevalence is higher in urban areas compared to the rural one. Under prevalence, despite advances in screening and treatment, cancer survival rates remain a concern. The 5-year survival rate for common cancer in India ranges from 30% to 60%, significantly lower than in high income countries. So, this gap underscores the urgent need for research through clinical trials to develop more effective and accessible treatment. So now let's connect these strategies to our discussion. Clinical trials are the engine driving progress in cancer care. They are not just about testing drugs, they are about giving patients hope and laying the foundation for a future where these numbers tell a story of survival and not loss. And now we are coming to the second part of the agenda. I just tried to list out the common challenges that I faced. So let me move into one by one. Recruitment and retention. Usually, finding eligible patients is hard, and convincing them to stay through the entire process is harder. And I always feel like finding eligible patients is like taking a New Year resolution. It requires consistency and persistence. And mostly the misconception about clinical trial, where some see them as lost resorts or unsafe experiments. So the major communication challenges faces is like explaining complex protocols and risk in simple, understandable terms, and managing the fine line between optimism and honesty as well. And other than this, misunderstanding medical jargon can leave patients feeling alienated. So I will feel like we need to speak the language of hope without over promising, and language of science without overwhelming. And the next one is like coordination across teams. So balancing trial requirements with patient care needs. That is the major challenge we will be seeing across the onco trials. And integrating oncologists, palliative care teams, and trial coordinators is also the major challenge. Under emotional and physical challenges, cancer patients bring with them not just their medical histories, but also their fears, hopes, and often their families. So this makes handling their care a deeply personal responsibility. Symptom management is something many people faces cumulative toxicities from prior treatments as well. And emotional distress, patients usually have anxiety about the unknown outcomes of the trial participation. Under time toxicity, patients often say clinical trial involves more waiting than their last hospital visit. So scheduling scans, lab visits, and treatments can feel like running a marathon without a finish line. And the last one is like balancing trial demands and patient needs. Trial often requires strict adherence to protocol, which can clash with patients' personal lives. And another is like it's about finding that sweet spot where research prioritizes patient care alliance. So all of the world under challenges, I can say like clinical trials are a partnership between science and humanity by addressing patient concerns, streamlining processes, and maintaining clear communications. We can make this. So by this, we can make this journey worthwhile for both patients and researchers. While analyzing the 6 challenges that I faced during the ONCO trial, still, I found there few strategies for handling challenges, and these are the 7 strategies we used to follow under onco trials. The first one under this is yearly integration of palliative care. I I personally face this when patient hear clinical trial, they imagine test tubes and endless hospital visits. But adding palliative care yearly changes this game. Let me tell about one of my study participant AR. He come in exhausted from treatment, not easily convinced about clinical trial. Once we brought in palliative care to him, focusing on his pain management and mental health, he started showing up with a smile. And why does this work? palliative care doesn't mean giving up. It means giving patients a better quality of life. And studies, there are few studies that show yearly referral rates of ER visits and even improved survival rates. So it's like adding a comfortable cushion to a bumpy ride. So it makes the journey bearable, right? And the next one is the patient-centered trial designs. So here is a confession. We have all been guilty of designing trials that focus on data over the patient experiences. But let me tell you about a trial where we let patients decide the schedule. So one patient in that particular trial made a joke saying, "Thank you for making my follow-up feel like a Netflix subscription, flexible and on demand." So flexible scheduling, home sample collection, and even telehealth options made participation easier, and dropout rates were almost non-existent. And why does this work? When trials fit into patients' lives rather than demanding patients fit into trial, everyone wins. So think of it like a perfectly tailored suit. It just feels right. And the third one is of symptom monitoring using digital tools. So technology isn't just for teenagers and their TikTok dancers. One of the onco studies gave our patients wearables to track symptoms like nausea and fatigue. Uh, One patient who got enrolled new to the study just laughed and said to me like, "Great, now my watch knows I am tired before my wife does." So these tools let us catch adverse events early, leading to quicker interventions. And why does this work? Real-time monitoring is like having a personal assistant for your health. It anticipates your needs and makes life smoother. So trial endpoints like lower disc, uh, lower discontinuation rates speak for themselves. Under multidisciplinary care models, the fourth strategy what I do is like managing cancer patients in trial. It's like assembling a band. You need the right players to hit all the notes. Oncologists, physiologists, psychologists, dietitians, social workers, they all bring something to the table. One of the patient's wife called our team the Avengers of cancer care. And honestly, I didn't mind the comparison. From managing cumulative toxicities to providing emotional support, these teams cover all bases. And why does this work? Holistic care isn't just a buzzword, it's the secret sauce in clinical research. So when patients feel cared for its every aspect, then they show up for their appointments and stick to the trial protocols. Hence, it becomes science with art. Fourth strategy we used to follow is like incorporating patient feedback, which is very much important in the onco trial. Now, here is a radical idea. Ask patients what they want. Shocking, right? In one trial, a patient advisory board suggested reducing invasive procedures. We listened, and guess what? Enrollment got shoot up. There were so many patients got enrolled in the study because of the reduction in the invasive procedures. And even one patient said for the study, like, finally, someone doesn't treat me like a lab rat. And that line really stuck with me. So why does this strategy work? When patients feel heard, they trust the process. And trust is the currency of clinical trial. So after all, even the best design study won't work if no one wants to join it, right? The sixth strategy. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. That is the cancer, which makes the cancer patients carry, right? So anxiety, depression, and fear of the unknown can weigh heavily on patients. So we introduced mindfulness session and counseling. In that particular study, again another patient joked at me saying, I came for the trial but stayed for the yoga. It sounds funny, but the emotional relief was real. Patients with cancer disease will be going through lot of stress in their life, and when there is something that changes their physiological well-being, nothing is much better than that for them, right? So, and why does this work? When we care for the mind as much as the body, patients are better equipped to face the challenges of the trial. So it's like tuning the strings of a guitar. You definitely need some harmony for the music to play, right? So only by tuning the strings of guitar we can have a harmony. So that is how our approach of addressing psychological well-being came out into a good strategy. And the other one, the last strategies of time commitments in clinical trial. So finally, let's discuss time toxicity, the silent stressor in clinical trial, especially in onco patients. So patients often tell me, this trial feels like my last hospital visit, but with more waiting. So what we did is we streamlined scheduling, reduced unnecessary appointments, and ensured patients spend more time living their lives than sitting in waiting room. And how does this work was, time is precious, especially for cancer patients. So making the process efficient respects their time and strengthens their commitment to the trial they involve. So by this, we are completing my last agenda. And finally, I just want to say that clinical trials are more than research. They are partnership between patient and science. By addressing the physical, emotional, and logistical challenges, we create a system where patients don't just survive but enjoy the prolonged life. And I should definitely thank all the patients who put their trust in us, and to all of them who work tirelessly to make this trial better. Together, we are not just fighting cancer, we are refining what it means to care. And thank you all of your thank you for your active listening. Is there any questions? Okay, I'm able to see one question. Sir, which is more effective, clinical trials or chemotherapy? Okay, there are so many advancement in chemotherapy which we incorporate into clinical trials. So without any new drug that enters clinical trial, we can't come up with a new chemotherapy, right? So there are so many cancers for which we don't have proper medication, and patient always go with the palliative care and will be counting their life. But under so many clinical trials, they can find some hope.